Hey guys, welcome back to my room. My name is Morgan. I'm an artist, songwriter, and also just really been enjoying sharing more about my wellness journey in general with you guys. Thanks so much for stopping by and watching. If you're new here, welcome. Feel free to check out. I've got a couple playlists going, one on specifically my fitness journey and another specifically on my wellness journey that I'll be continuing to share in those playlists about my journey. It's a little bit of a new series that I just started over the last several weeks. And then of course I have plenty of music on my channel as well, so definitely feel free to check it all out. But today I'm actually going to be sharing a bit about my journey with hormonal birth control and why I decided to discontinue hormonal birth control and go for a natural route that ended up working the best for me. I'm probably going to split this up into a couple different parts. Today specifically, I'm really just going to talk about natural cycles and my experience with that, and actually why I ended up switching from hormonal birth control to natural birth control methods. And then next week I'll actually share a little bit more about what else I'm doing also for natural birth control methods. But today specifically, I'm mainly going to be focusing on using my basal body temperature and cervical mucus and whatnot, how to know where I'm at in my cycle, when I'm ovulating, when I'm not ovulating, when I'm fertile and not fertile. Basically, I just want to start with, I had been on the pill for about 10 years. I started at 15 with my pediatrician and just had never tried anything different. I had really bad acne. I don't necessarily think it helped with my acne. I know for some it did, but for me, that stayed the same. The only thing I do remember it helping with is cramps, and I didn't even notice how much it helped with my cramps until discontinuing hormonal birth control. But for 10 years I was on it, and later toward the end of those 10 years I started having some what I believe are symptoms from long-term use of hormonal birth control. One, I started having leg pain to the point of like, I don't know, just kind of a little bit scary, like long-term leg pain. Looked into it. I actually, in my 20s, started wearing compression socks. Now, some of that may have been due to low circulation because of like, I wasn't exercising as regularly as I am now. So definitely exercise and diet may have definitely played a role in that. But just kind of knowing my body, I don't know. It was unusual for me to have so much leg pain, and also like, I don't know, just limbs were falling asleep like at night. Like I would wake up and like straight up my arm or leg would just be like tingling, which for me was unusual for it to happen so frequently. So I looked into it, mentioned it to my doctor, and basically nothing was found. I mean, we ran tests, drew blood and everything, and thankfully everything in that area looked pretty good, minus like a vitamin D deficiency, which is pretty common. But yeah, so that was a little weird. Also, my platelet count is naturally elevated. Once I started, like checking my my blood and running those tests and kind of looking into some of those results more on my own and doing some research. Elevated platelet levels can definitely cause you to be higher risk for stroke. And as we know, hormonal birth control also elevates your risk for stroke the longer term that you're on it, especially when you get older in age. And also if you smoke, which I'm not a smoker, but that's something else to be aware of if you are and you're on hormonal birth control. And especially if in addition to those things you have elevated platelet levels, that's something you really want to be aware of. And so I didn't want to like double increase my risk for stroke, and the leg pain was really concerning me and no one else seemed to be concerned. So, you know, between that and also having I ended up developing a cyst in my breast and had to advocate for myself to have that looked into and get a biopsy because my doctor was not taking it seriously. Because I was so young, and she's like, well, it's probably fine, it's probably not cancerous, but it definitely was a lump that developed. It was not normal for me. Also, both my grandmothers actually had breast cancer, so I advocated for myself. That's a whole other conversation. Yes, I do have a different doctor now. And finally was able to get a biopsy. Thankfully, it was benign. And I was told it most likely may have been due to like hormones. Sometimes that can happen and can be normal. But it is definitely always a good thing to get it checked. Always, guys, like always check your breasts, you know, like regularly. One thing I like about Natural Cycles is on the app, there actually is a little reminder monthly for the perfect time in your cycle every month to do your own self-examination, your own breast check. It actually like goes through the motions of how to do it, you know, whether you be standing up, laying down. I check mine in the shower, and also when I'm laying in bed, and also when I'm sitting. Different positions. You want to like really get to know your body and, you know, feel your boobs as often as you can, seriously. That way you can notice changes. And as soon as you notice a change, if you notice a polyp or something, some kind of lump that had not been there before, or any like tenderness that's abnormal to you, outside of just like normal cycle tenderness, like around your period and stuff like that, or around ovulation, if it's something abnormal, that's when you definitely want to like check with your doctor on that and just get things checked. Even if they say you're too young for a mammogram, which I was, and still am at this time, but always check. And if your doctor is not taking you seriously, get a second opinion. Always advocate for yourself, because too often, especially when women of color, we are just overlooked and, you know, sometimes not taken seriously in the medical field, unfortunately. So if you notice something is not going right, you know your body better than anyone else. So if you feel something that's off, always get it checked and definitely get a second opinion. Switch doctors if you have to. And just, you know, look into it. Hopefully everything will be fine. You know, prevention and like early detection can seriously save your life or save you from complications down the road. So, you know, that's a whole other thing, but I did want to say that since I have this platform, please don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. Anywho, so going back to Natural Cycles. Oh, sorry. So I was on the pill for 10 years, right? And then I got off the pill. I decided, you know what, between the cyst and the leg pain and this weird things happening to my body, I was like, and the increased platelet elevation, I was like, you know what, let me step back. And at that time I had a different health provider. She was awesome, a nurse practitioner that ended up being a little bit more on the holistic side as well, with research and whatnot. So, you know, I was like, hey, I think I want to discontinue hormonal birth control altogether. And she was asking me, like, you know, about had I tried any different methods of hormonal birth control. Really, I hadn't. I had only done the pill, what is it, the normal like dual hormone pill, right? And so she was like, well, would you be interested in trying the NuvaRing? You know, I know I didn't want to do anything invasive. I didn't want to do the shot or, you know, any other invasive options. But I wanted to try the NuvaRing because at least if I didn't like it, I could just take it out myself, right? So I tried the NuvaRing, I think for about a year, and just ended up kind of not liking it. It just wasn't as comfortable for me, inserting and removing it. I just didn't like keeping up with that, and I don't know, it just wasn't for me. So I tried that, and the NuvaRing was hormonal, okay? So I tried that for a year, decided I didn't like it, but did give it a try. And from there, I just was like, okay, I'm gonna do my own research and find, certainly there's got to be like natural birth control methods that work, you know? So I hopped online, hopped on YouTube, hopped on TikTok, hopped on, you know, to see what other women were doing, because there's gotta be other options, and there were. Actually, I had a friend that had done the Basal Body method through, it was a different company, different provider, but basically the same method, and that worked for her. She told me about that. So I ended up trying Natural Cycles. I liked that it came with an app, and you could just easily, you know, just take your temp the same time, first thing every morning. I watched some videos on it, and I was like, oh, that sounds easy enough. No more annoying than taking a pill every morning, and not having to deal with the NuvaRing. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, let me try that. So this is my Natural Cycles thermometer. I want to say this is the most recent updated one, which has the backlight, which I'm so glad they added that, because it's really annoying to take your temp in the morning and you can't even like read what it says because it's dark, and you don't want to turn on your light. And so it's a whole thing. But anyway, now they make the ones with the backlight, so I literally don't have to do anything, and it auto syncs to their app, so I really don't have to do anything, which is great. But yeah, it's easy enough. Like, what I do is I will set my alarm, of course, you know, every morning, and around 7:30 a.m. my alarm will go off, and I have this sitting on my nightstand, and I will sit it under my tongue, press this little button here, and it will beep and let me know that it's taken my basal body temperature first thing in the morning before I get up to do anything. Before I get out of bed, that's what I do. And then, you know, if I go back to sleep or if I end up getting up for the day, doesn't really matter, but at least this part is done. And that's what's most important, to consistently do that first thing in the morning, same time, every single day. To me, it's been worth it because it works for me. I will say, and the app is great. It's always got these like articles popping up on just like new research finds that have been done about like our bodies, and I believe it is also woman run. I believe it started in Sweden or in Europe, and now is like recently, in recent years, viewed as an actual birth control option in the US, like a legitimate option. It wasn't legitimized before, and now it is in the US, so that's great. I think some insurances, if you have like HSA, FSA, like they will, for a lot of them, they'll cover the cost of this like annual subscription for Natural Cycles. And this is not sponsored, by the way. This is just what I've happened to use for the last 5 years. That worked great for me. It still works great for me. So, but anyway, I take my temp, and I think it took my body maybe like a few months for the app to really, once I started using it 5 years ago, to really get accustomed to what my hormone changes were and what's normal for me. Thankfully, naturally, I learned that I do have a very regular cycle, very regular period and ovulation cycle. So it was pretty easy for it to sync up and learn what's normal for my body. And then, you know, you get more green days, which, you know, talk more about that soon. But basically, green days are when you are not fertile. So it's honestly a great option that's not invasive to really help you get to know your body more. Before Natural Cycles, like I never knew, I can actually feel when I'm ovulating. Like even if my app didn't tell me when I'm ovulating or when I'm most likely ovulated, I can feel it in my body. It's called Milschmerz, where it's like this like slight, almost like cramp pain on one side of my pelvis. And it'll do that for like 1 or 2 days. And sometimes it'll switch sides, and I will know 1000% I'm extremely fertile and I am ovulating at that time. You feel it. You can feel it in your cervical mucus. For me, half the time probably should check my cervical mucus more often than I do, but like what the biggest indicator for my body is that middle schmurz cramp on either side of like my like lower abdomen, pelvic area. And so that's pretty cool. It's cool because the longer you use it, the more you get to know your body, right? So that's one cool thing I learned about my body. I also learned that I have very regular periods, so like clockwork. And the signals my body gets before I have my period, that I feel like I feel a lot more, and it's easier for me to feel and know my body and like when things are happening than I did with the pill, because it kind of like creates this like false, I mean, the whole point of the pill is like the way it works, it kind of creates a false sense of period. With this, it's all natural, it's all your body. You're not ingesting any additional hormones. One difference I did notice about natural cycles, everything's been positive and better for me. The only negative not side effect, but negative thing for me was like my cramps are way worse now since I stopped hormonal birth control. I didn't realize how much hormonal birth control was helping my cramps, but there were so many other like horrible side effects that I was experiencing. It was so worth having cramps than not, which I talk about in this another video, but like, listen, I take my Advil. The day one, I have to. I take my Advil. I take my my liver supplements for iron. I have my heating pad, and day one is rough until those pain meds kick in. And once they kick in, I'm good. But like day one, or the day before I might start cramping, that first day is always rough for me. So that's the one thing that kind of sucks about going natural. But again, overall, it's way worth it for me to experience those cramps than to end up with like super high risk stroke, like I was, and these other issues like breast polyps and things like that were happening when I was on the hormonal birth control. Which I will say, the cyst that was in my breast, it's disappeared. It over time got smaller and then just disappeared. Since I've been doing natural birth control for the past 5 years, I hadn't had another one, thank God. So things have been okay there, and I don't know, I just feel better. I feel really good, and I'm just not interested in just adding additional hormones to my body unless I absolutely need it, which at this time I don't. In the last 5 years, honestly, it's been a godsend, like, being able to have this as an option. I had no idea this was an option before. Like, really looking into it, I had no idea. But way better. Like, this is great. And once it really gets to know your body and your natural cycle, literally your natural cycle, which everyone is a little bit different, right? But your unique cycle, it syncs up to. The cool thing is the longer you do it and the more consistent you are with measuring your basal body temp first thing in the morning, you get more green days, and so more not fertile days that it can detect, and then fewer definitely fertile days, which I think you're only fertile like 3 to 5 days out of your entire cycle. And it will add a couple of additional red days before and after, just to be safe. So if you don't want any oops during that time, just be aware. Definitely adhere to those red days if you're not using any other like methods or barriers of protection for yourself. But it's really great. I love it. It's honestly just made life easier, and I feel so much better for it. On those, red days and or like just around that time outside of my period, I also incorporate neem, which I want to dive deeper into that on another video, maybe a part 2. Like how I use neem powder, neem supplements as a natural birth control method and how it's been safe for me. I feel comfortable talking about it now that it's been 5 years since I've been, using these two methods for natural birth control. And honestly, I feel great. I go to the doctor for my, regular checkups, regular blood tests, all that. Everything's been pretty normal. I do still have elevated platelet levels, which I started taking ginkgo biloba. I was initially doing daily aspirin for that, but I wanted to go a more natural route and did some research and started taking the supplement ginkgo biloba, which is supposed to be basically do the same thing, just natural. So I don't know. I'm gonna get my blood drawn again sometime this summer and just kind of be able to compare, see if the ginkgo has been helping. It's been some months now that I've been on that versus the aspirin. The aspirin hadn't been helping or hurting it. It's just been kind of staying in the same level, not a dangerous high level, but just like a elevated level. That's something I want to monitor, again, for preventative measures, just to make sure we're good. But other than that, like, everything's been great. So it's just been a great option to have. If that's something, if you're looking into like just other options other than non-hormonal birth control, I want to tell you there absolutely are options for us. This is just one of them. And then of course there are many different brands and whatnot that have the basal body, thermometers and apps that sync that you can use. This, based on my research, just happened to be the one that it seemed like it had the most research to back it up, and I like that it's woman owned. I like a lot more women use this and share their stories about it, so I felt comfortable with that, continuing this method long term. And I can be one of those people, after 5 years now I feel comfortable sharing this, but it's worked for me. Like, thankfully, I have a fiance, we've been together for about that entire time, about 5 years. And, we've been very safe and not needing to, really use a lot of other, external barrier methods, and just truly been able to share that love and intimacy that we'd like without a pregnancy scare yet, at this time. We want to plan for our family and really, it's family planning. That's all it is. So just careful family planning, but a natural way, a natural method, if you will. Something else I like about Natural Cycles, so it has a switch where right now I have it switched to the form where it's preventing, so right now I have it switched to its pregnancy prevention method. Basically all the same information, but it's just like green days are like, not fertile, red days are fertile. I believe it switches. So if I wanted to switch, once we're ready to, start planning to start our family and trying to have a baby, what I would do is switch on my app from pregnancy prevention to family planning. And so then it switches and kind of, shows you when are your most fertile days. Those I think turn into, not red, but like a different color, maybe green. But it's like, hey, like this is go time. This is when is a good time to try to conceive, because you're most fertile at this point, which I love. And I'm really excited to, try that once we get ready to start planning to grow our family. And for right now, as we're not planning to grow our family yet, this has been working really great and just allows us a lot more freedom while not like damaging my body. So I think it's a great method. I don't know. I'm really, really, really into this method, and my friends will tell you, like, I'm always like, oh my gosh, like, if you haven't tried it, if you are someone that does have regular periods and you've been on hormonal birth control for a while and you're kind of ready to try more of a natural method, I think it's a really good one to try, at least to give it a try. It worked for me, so feel free to check it out. Natural Cycles. And let me know in the comments, have you tried Natural Cycles or maybe a different natural basal body temperature? method? Are there other methods that you use to detect ovulation or to detect fertile days? Did you also experience any of the similar side effects to hormonal birth control that I did? Share in the comments, let me know. I really want to use this platform now to create more of a community and a safe space for us to, share our wellness journeys and encourage each other. Because we're all just doing life together, like trying to figure it out. And what more can we do than to try to be our best selves and work to be our healthiest selves, and any knowledge we learn or things that's working for us, let's share it so that, maybe it can help someone else. That's all I wanted to share in case you were looking for a different option for, more natural birth control methods. And then next week, I'm gonna share specifically about neem supplements and how I also incorporate in my natural birth control method journey. So thanks guys for watching. Definitely hit the subscribe and like button if you've enjoyed this video and if you're interested in more content like this. I really enjoyed talking and sharing about these topics and learning from you guys too. Let me know if there's anything you want to chat about for future videos. Anyways, thanks guys for watching, and I wish you well. Bye.